Sahana vavatu sahanau bhunaktu sahaviryankaravavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Gukarastvandhakaro Vai Rukarasta Nivartakaha Andhakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. So the topic that we are currently tackling, following, really not tackling but following, is praptasya prapti. That the goal of our life is to discover that I already have what I want to be. This is a very unlikely and a very strange thing, but that's the way it is. So to calibrate ourselves in terms of exactly where we are in this journey of self-discovery, the 10th man story should be kept in mind. And in particular, the 3 stages of self-discovery epitomized by the 10th man story. 3 stages. And a personal anecdote of my thinking that I have lost my credit card should be kept as a corollary, as a modern example of the 10th man story. But there is a difference between them because you can imagine what the differences are. So one is that I have lost something that I possessed in the credit card. So in that sense, the 3 stages of the discovery of the credit card is identical to the 10th man story. But what is different is that the credit card story had to do with something that I possessed, whereas in the 10th man story, it is not something I possess, but my own estimation of who I am. That's why the 10th man story is incomparable. And it's been there for this hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. It has stood the test of time. So the 10th man story should be kept in mind as we assess where we are in our life. And so the first stage of that, as we know, is that I begin to get more desperate about my life as I grow older. When I'm young, for most part, there are some that are an exception, but for most part, I'm just too busy with living. I don't have time to think about what is the goal of life and where am I going to go and so on. No, those questions don't occur. But increasingly, as life ebbs away, those questions are inevitable. We may still block them and nothing really happens and we just give up this body without ever inquiring. That's very possibility. That's a very, very strong possibility. But you eventually have to look at, who am I? What is going to happen to me? Is the death the end of me? Or is there something more than that? Is there a creator? Is there a God? So these kinds of questions come into our minds in the first stage. And also in the first stage, there is a firm conclusion that what I am is this. That's all I am. This is what and this means a highly limited, highly dependent entity. And as this entity behaves, so do I. There's no distinction between this entity and me. I don't have any reason to make a difference between them. So this is the first stage, and it becomes increasingly more desperate in our life, very much like the desperation of this 10th man who thought that one of us has been lost. And exactly how it has been lost and who is lost, they're not sure of. Similarly, in our life also, I am looking for unconditional freedom, but I don't know if it is there. I can't tell. You can talk to anybody and they would laugh you off. Unconditional freedom? What are you talking about? I don't understand this. All you can think about is that yes, there is some life after death. And life after death means means what? Means another life of limitation. So you are jumping from one life of limitation to another life of limitation. Fine, so they have some belief in having some life after death, but how does it matter really? Maybe it'll be better. And so this is where all the spiritual travel agents come in, as Swami Dayananji was very fond of saying. He was saying that all the proselytizing religions are really religious. They are the travel agents, spiritual travel agents. That's what they are. How? Because they have a brochure in the form of belief in some God, going to the church, all those kinds of things. And then you say, if you believe in this, then we can get you into a better place than you are now. And then you can ask them, have you ever been there? They have no answer. They said, no, I'm also a believer, you also be a believer. So that's the best one can do, is to hope for a travel agent. This is what is called an unverifiable belief, very different from a verifiable belief. A verifiable belief is the one that we are talking about in terms of the second stage. So the second stage occurs that if you are seeking some kind of a freedom and you don't know where that's going to come from, then in our good graces of whatever, of karma or Ishvara's grace on us or something, we find the right teaching. And so in the 10th man story, it's very possible that this, what is called an Apta Purusha. Apta Purusha was someone who is a very wise person who was just passing by, and he saw the hue and cry and the sorrow on this person's face. And the other ones are also sorrowful because the leader is now so sorrowful, everybody starts crying. And he said, this is something very curious. Young boys, they should not be crying like this. What's going on? So he inquired. And fortunately, he had an answer. And so he calmed everybody down and said, listen, I know the 10th man lives. I know it. It's not as I believe it, I know it. And not only do I know it, I'll show that 10th man to you. Exactly the same situation occurs when each one of us gets introduced to the teaching of Vedanta, the Vedantic teaching, through a live teacher, comes and said, there is no reason to grieve. You are already what you want to be, you just don't know it. Praptasya prapti. So at that stage, in that second stage, it's not as though my sorrow is completely disappeared, but it is of a much different nature. And many of the commentators say this. They have the really beautiful commentaries on the 10th man story. I remember one which was very interesting, which said that before that, this person really wanted to commit suicide. And he was hitting his head on the rough bark of a tree. And blood was flowing and he had wounds on his head and tears and so on. This is how sorrowful he was, signifying the desperation in our life that some of us might feel. Not everybody, but either it is seen or unseen, we have that desperation. And so then, after the person calmed everybody down, and they wiped their tears and removed some of the blood flowing from the wounds and so on and so forth, they haven't gotten the knowledge yet that is being promised, but the sorrow, the force of the sorrow is much less. Why? Because this is an Apta-purusha, like a Swami who's passing by, and everybody has a lot of trust in his Swami. The Swami does not normally have an agenda. Swami Visharanam was saying one time, he says, a Vedantic teacher is really unique, because the Vedantic teacher, the teacher of Vedanta, does not want anything back from you, has no agenda whatsoever. Even all other things except Ishvara, who is your creator, have an agenda. Everybody. The closest thing to that is the mom, who begins by having no agenda, but then she develops one, because she herself is wanting the support of her son and daughter. And so her love becomes tainted because of what she wants from you. Same thing with all the other thing else is all less and less and less. Friends, they all have something that they want back from you, except for a Vedantic teacher. There is nothing. The only thing that the Vedantic teacher wants is some evidence that you are being helped, that you are feeling better about yourself. That's it. There is nothing else. Now, not all the teachers are like that. There are all teachers. I wouldn't say 100% Vedantic teachers. There are teachers who have a lot of rajas in them, and they want to really propagate the knowledge and to become popular and build some ashrams and become well known. They have an agenda of that type. And I must say, when I started teaching, I also had semblance of some agenda like that. Not a lot, but I did wanted to make sure that there are people who I don't want to have just a couple of people in my home who are uncertain and so on. I wanted to have a proper class, and so I worked hard for it for a while. So I did have an agenda for a while, but I think it just goes down. At this point in time, in fact, one of the students sent me, I think I was telling you this, they said, Vijayji, so what is the next plan after the COVID thing finishes? Should we have an in-person class? And I wrote to him saying that I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And I also told him that, quite frankly, my plan is just to continue my own sadhana and to continue my own progress. And in the meantime, if I'm able to help someone, fine. But those days where I wanted to make sure that there are enough people in the class, even now, when I start a class and if 7 people only start up, that I would say it bothers me, but it makes me feel that am I doing the right thing? And so I have to choose anyway, I'm not going on and on. So the Vedantic teacher really is the closest thing, he's the closest ambassador to Ishvara. Really, I feel that. And so when such a person passes by, it certainly has an effect on people. Saying, I think if he's saying it that he's seen the 10th person, then let's wait for him to show. Now this is the second stage. And so in this case, in the case of my finding the credit card, my knowledge that it is not lost outside this home was my teacher. I think I've told you this before. Swami Visharanam has made this beautiful point that the real knowledge which removes your sorrow is Brahman knowledge, Brahma Vidya. That's the real Guru. And so this live teacher who is telling you the words through which you will discover yourself is a proxy, not the real Guru. And even Dakshinamurti, the Adi Guru, is also a proxy Guru. But your own Atma, when it understands, when your own mind sees this very clearly, that is the Guru. That is what really will deliver the goods to you. Until then, you have to rely on other things and so on. And so in my case of the credit card, that was the knowledge. The knowledge by saying, oh my goodness, I used it to buy something from Amazon right here. Enter stage 2. And I didn't even have to, perhaps I didn't even have to search much. There is a little bit of search involved, but it's trivial compared to what it would have been in the stage 1. So anyway, you can calibrate yourself to see if you are in stage 2 or not. If you have been listening for a while and you have some trust in the teaching and trust in me, then it's very possible that you have really entered the stage 2. Or it's possible that you haven't. Things are not yet clear and you're still searching as to, we use words like limited and unlimited and so on, and you feel, why, I don't know. These are just words, but I don't feel that. I'm not asking you to feel that. The Swami Dayananda used to say that this feeling, this experience is not like eating mango. You have the experience of eating mango. It is not like that. So it's not as though you should have the experience, but you must have the conviction Because the teacher is also saying that there is a difference between aparoksha and paroksha. So you're not good. So paroksha here meant was that yes, it's the credit card is around me somewhere, but it is not aparoksha. It's not right in front of me yet. So with that conviction, your attitude and your search and your efforts, your karma changes a lot. You get much more relaxed. So this is what we've been saying all along. Okay, so let us do this. That being the case, I think what I was planning to do, and I am planning to do, is to expand this circle of the stage 2, having given you the method of understanding this. Think of the examples that we will use in a enlarging circle. So the first circle was the credit card story, small circle. A bigger circle is the depth and the authenticity of the 10th man example, Dashamoham. Bigger circle, more relevance, more detail, and so on. Okay. Then we took a bigger circle last week, which is the experience of, in the Chandogya Upanishad, of a person who was really searching for some wealth, struggling actually for some wealth, but was told by a very dear friend of his departed father, another Apta Purusha, because they were very good friends. And so when he went to him for some loan to get his daughter married, so the person said, I'm happy to give you loan, but you don't need it. I don't think you need it, because your father was very rich and he has saved a lot of money for all of you. He used to tell me. So please find out. This is also a stage 2. And he says that he doesn't believe in banks and loaning it to others or anything. He was a very hard worker and he was dedicated to his family, and he told me that he actually would buy gold and he would just keep it somewhere on the property. You have about an acre of property, I bet it's there somewhere. And so this person went and searched for it. He asked his mom, who represented not knowledge but reasoning, that yes, I think he did talk about that, but I never really was curious about where he's going to keep it. I never asked him. And so this was locked up in it. But then this fellow decided that I'm going to really redouble my efforts. And so he would now start digging very systematically in tilling his land. And there, one time, there was a ton, the striking of a metal, and he found it. And so this story is a bigger circle. First one was a credit card, the second one was a 10th man story. The third one is the Chandogya Upanishad story about Kshetra and Kshetragya. And also this is all Upanishadic stories. These are not, I didn't dream of it myself. This has been told by a number of people. So the analogy is very apt. That's exactly what we have to do in our life. That the teacher says, it is here close by. You don't have to knock around the whole world to have different experiences. Don't have to go to, if you want to, it's okay to go to pilgrimages and look for different theories, study Buddhism, study this, study Sankhya. You don't have to do that. You just follow the instructions, and as we discuss it, and you will find it. So this was the third story. The fourth story which is it's a bigger circle. Each circle is a little bit bigger. Bigger in the sense that it has more detail, more specificity, is the one that we will now start with Kena Upanishad. So that's the fourth circle. The fifth circle, which will be the final one in this tour of the Praptasya Prapti. We are still on the topic of Praptasya Prapti. The fifth one, which is the biggest one, which we will spend quite a bit of time on, is taking the Brahmananda Valli of Panchadashi. And as we did, I think already about a year back when we did the, I don't know, what was the title of that class we had? Thoughts on Happiness, I think was the name of the class. And we took one chapter, 11th chapter of the Brahmananda Valli. Brahmananda section, not Brahmananda Valli is in Taittiriya Upanishad. So this is the Brahmananda's third section. Panchadashi has 3 sections. So the first one is Sat, first 5 is primarily devoted to Sat. The second one is primarily devoted to Chit. And the third one is primarily devoted to Ananda. So the largest circle that we will explore in this Praptasya Prapti, I mean, I didn't really even have a plan as I'm doing now. I just decided I'm just going to do Praptasya Prapti. That was the first thing that popped into my head. But I think the more and more Ishvara is making me think in a more structured manner. So I said, okay, this is what we will do. I've already not made any promises to you, which is really unique in this class, that I'm going to finish this class in 36 weeks or no. Let it go on. If it takes as long as I'm alive, so be it. I don't think so. We'll finish it sooner than that. So anyway, we will, I don't know how long I'll be alive. That's not what I'm saying. But I mean, there's no indefinite end, there's no end to it, is all I'm saying. So that we will do. And that will be, and at each stage I will remind you, at each circle rather of the topic, I will remind you to make sure that you are aware of the 3 stages of Praptasya Prapti. So you have some kind of an orderly structure to fit all these classes in. Okay? So that being the case, let us now go to the 4th big circle. First one, as you know, was the credit card. The second one was the Dashamoham. The third one is Kshetragyaha. And the 4th one is the teaching of Kena Upanishad. Alright, so with that, let us launch into this enlarged circle based on Kena Upanishad. So, I was thinking that many of you, maybe some of you, I won't say many of you, I think most of you already know what Upanishads are all about, how many Upanishads are important, where is the location of the Upanishad. But I thought that I'll spend some time giving you that introduction of Upanishads in general before actually localizing it on Kena Upanishad. Okay? Alright, so there are, so the Vedas, the Upanishads are part of the Vedas, and the Vedas are literally so big that one cannot even study all of it. And so what Veda Vyasa had done was to categorize the Vedas in some 4 sections so that it becomes a little bit easier for us to grasp. But really, in terms of the enormity of the Vedas, it's kind of like, you have so many stations that are available, FM and AM and so on. But you cannot really be, when you buy a new car, you get a 3-month subscription to Sirius. And it'd be nice to flip over some of the channels and so on. But you don't have time to look at 400 channels from Sirius or even from the cable news and so on. So what you do is you just select 4 or 5 and really follow those 4 or 5 stations well. Could be a news one, could be National Public Radio. This is exactly what we do. There's KCBS. I listen to KCBS to see how the weather is and traffic and so on and what's happening. The secondly is the NPR 88.5. So a lot of authentic news that National Public Radio gives with a different kind of. They also have ads, but a different kind of ads. Anyway, so that's number. Then you have some sports stations and maybe 1 or 2 music stations. One Hindustani music, Indian music, one Western music. Like that 5 or 6 channels you have, and this is what you really listen to. So the Vedas were exactly like that. There's an infinite number of Vedic scriptures, but in his wisdom and his helping us with the blessing, then Vedacharya ji divided that as an editor into the 4 Vedas. And as you know, the 4 Vedas are Yajur Veda, which has 2 shakhas, 2 branches. One is Shukla Yajur Veda, means the white, and the other one is Krishna Yajur Veda. So both of them are in part of the Yajur Veda. Yajur Veda is in prose, number 1. The second one is Samaveda. This is not in any particular, so all 4 of them. And the Samaveda is put to music. Put to music. If you ever have listened to some people, then it's really a very interesting sound. And so I believe they have 5. I'm not sure about this. So all these, our music has 7 notes. Samaveda has 5 notes. Now I can't remember. I think Swamiji had told me about which of the 2 notes are missing. And but I have listened to people who sing Samaveda, and it's very interesting. It is sung. So that is the Samaveda. And Kena Upanishad, as I will explain in a minute, is part of the Samaveda. So that's the second Veda. The third one is the Rig Veda. You also call it Rig Veda, which is in a verse form. And the fourth one is Atharva Veda. And here there is a mixture of some hymns and some prose. Now, if you want to make a note of it, so the Upanishads also are so many. There are, and I think by the account of some people that know, we have lost a lot of the Upanishads. Again, because people were not capable of listening to so many, or watching so many, seeing so many Upanishads, and very much the same thing as so many stations you are incapable of doing. So there are fewer Upanishads that became well repeated, very popular, and so on. And I think I was telling you this, that I have a book of 3 volumes, I think, that gives the 108 most popular Upanishads. Beautiful book. It's also in Hindi. And so it has the verses of the Upanishad and also has the translation in Hindi. And I've really consulted it several times. And so there are so many Upanishads. Like, so for example, there is a let me read my own. So there is an Upanishad called Kali Santara Upanishad. Okay, and the Kali Santara Upanishad, Santara Upanishad. You know what it has? It has the following words: Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So this chant, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, like this chant. This is not just made up by some human beings. This is actually part of an Upanishad. It's called Kali Santara Upanishad. Anyway, so there are so many Upanishads. So out of these 108 that I at least I have those in my library, 10 of them are considered to be worth studying by serious students of Vedanta. Why? Because Adi Shankara has made commentary on all 10 of them. And there are other wonderful Upanishads that he did not have time to make a commentary. That doesn't mean that they are any less. Kaivalya Upanishad is one of those. So Adi Shankara never commented on Kaivalya Upanishad, but it's one of the beautiful Upanishads, and we have taken that. And in fact, at the end of the 8th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, I will take up that Upanishad. And the one that we did with Swami Veditapananda's in 2008, I believe. And so we know that Upanishad quite well. So, but that was not commented by Adi Shankara. Doesn't mean that's any less important. But Adi Shankara's list only included 10. Those were, so in the Shukla Yajurveda, there is the Ishavasya Upanishad. And also Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Funny, because Ishavasya is the shortest Upanishad that we have, and Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is the longest Upanishad that we have. I made a note for myself. So it is a number of pages of text for each Upanishad. So Ishavasyam has 1 page, Brihadaranyaka has 50 pages. Okay, so this is Shukla Yajurveda. And also each one of them has a Shanti Patha associated with it. And so the Shanti Patha for the Shukla Yajurveda is Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate. Then the second one is Krishna Yajurveda. And incidentally, Adi Shankara was a scholar of Krishna Yajurveda. Of course, he's a scholar in all of these Upanishads, but his own family followed the Krishna Yajurveda. In that, you have the Kathopanishad and Taittiriya Upanishad, 2 very important Upanishads, appear in the Krishna Yajurveda. And the Shanti Patha for that is Apyayantu Mama Angani. No, I'm sorry. No. In the Kathopanishad, it is Sahana Vavatu, and also in the Taittiriya Upanishad, it is Shanno Mitra Sham Varuna. So these two are used in the Krishna Yajurveda. Okay? Then Rig Veda has only one Upanishad. It's called Aythore Upanishad. And 3 pages for that. Kathopanishad had 6 pages, Taittiriya Upanishad has 10 pages, and now Aythore Upanishad, which is part of Rig Veda, has 3 pages, and the Shanti Patha for that is, Shanti Mantra for that is Vang me manasi pratishtita, Mano me vachi pratishtitam, that we sing. So that's part of the Aythore, which is Rig Veda. There's only one Upanishad in the Rig Veda. So we have covered Shukla Yajur, Krishna Yajur, and Rig. Then comes Samaveda. So as I mentioned before, Kena Upanishad, 2 pages, and Chandogya Upanishad, 50 pages, are part of the Samaveda. And the Shanti Patha for that is Apyayantu Mama Angani Vak Pranas Chakshu Shotram. This is that. And the 4th one, Rig, Yajur, Sama. 4th one is Atharva. And Atharva has 3 Upanishads. Prashna Upanishad, 5 pages. Mundaka Upanishad, 5 pages. And Mandukya Upanishad, 1 page. Short one, which we have done. So in the Harsha Vidya Center, we have done what? Let's see. We have done Ishavasya. We have done Kathopanishad. We have done Taittiriya Upanishad. We have done Kena Upanishad. We have done Prashna Upanishad. No, Prashna Upanishad we have not done, sorry. Mundaka Upanishad and Mandukya Upanishad. So the 3 that we have not done, of course the 2 are the very big ones that will be very difficult to do. In my style of teaching, it might take me 15 years each. Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya. And Prashna we might do. We have not done. So 3 we have not done, 7 we have done. No, Aythore also we have not done. So 6, 4 we have not done. And I have done Brihadaranyaka and Chandogya and Aythore and Prashna on my own after we graduated from PRC. Okay? Alright, the next thing I want to do is to very briefly comment on the word Upanishad. So what does the Upanishad do? Okay? And what is the meaning of the word Upanishad? And I think many of you already know this, so this may be a repetition for you. So in Upanishad, the verb is sat. Sad, sorry, not sat, but sad, with a dakara, not takara. Like the short form of sada, sad. That is the dhatu. That's the verb, because all of the knowledge is in the dhatu. What does the verb do? And so I will discuss sad in a minute, but it has 2 prefixes to it. Upa and ni. Upa means very near. So near, in fact, that it is you. You cannot be anything nearer than being yourself. Your mind is very close to you, but you are even closer than the mind. You. So this is what is meant by Upa. So Upa means, and so this is an important thing, because exactly the Upanishad, what Upanishad does is to convince you that the search has to be done in the near vicinity of where you are. Don't look for it outside somewhere. That's the meaning of the word Upa. That's where, the credit card example comes in. There also, because it was a possession, it means it's near about, close by me. And the 10th man was, you are the 10th man. So how can be anything closer than the upa? Means you. Upa doesn't mean you, but it means very near, the nearest. So so, and when we do the sad, I will explain it, I will explain what upa means as a prefix to sad. So that's number one. The second one is ni, which stands for nishchaya. Nishchaya. Nishchaya means definiteness. This is an important thing to see. You see that you know this saying, which is a correct saying. The more you know about the world, the less you know about it. It's a very funny way of saying it, but it means, which is our experience also, that the more you know, the more you realize what you don't know. Swami Dayananji used to give this example, that really speaking, you can have many PhDs that can understand a single flower, like a rose flower. So you know a little bit about the flower, that it's, has a certain aroma, a certain flavor to it, and certain look to it. It's called rose. That's all we know. But if you ever start looking into why is a rose the way it is, you now discover such a huge treasure of knowledge that you can actually have multiple PhDs that might write a whole dissertation on why the color, how it color, when it fades, the genetics of it. Amazing. So the more you know, the more you say, I don't know. You just make a judgment on a few things and then that's it. You cannot afford to go into the details of it. Except for Atma. And there is a reason for it. The reason is that Anatma is infinite in variety. So you cannot know infinite variety. It means infinite. It means you know even the most smartest person knows just a little bit. There's so much that the person doesn't know. Very quickly, if you're a scientist, you don't know Hindi, you don't know Punjabi, you don't know Swahili, you don't know so many things. So the Anatma being infinite, it is not possible to know definitively. You cannot say, I know everything. But this is just the opposite for Atma. And the reason is that Atma is not infinite variety, it is infinite in its singularity. It is infinite actually. But infinite as ekarasam. Not as infinite, there's no variety in it. In fact, the entire world is only one Atma, which is the Atma which is common between Ishvara, between you, between I, between them, everybody is only one. And one can, that being the case, one can know it completely. There is no other thing that can be known completely. This is the meaning of the word ni. Nishchaya. Nishchaya Atmika. Upa-atmika means of the nature of. Upa and Ni. Now let's go to the dhatu, sad. So the sad has three aspects to it. One is called Visharanam, one is called Gati, and one is called Avasadhanam. So all three meanings are relevant for sad. And then you append the appendix Upa and Ni to that. What are the three meanings? First one is called Visharanam. This is an important thing to see, particularly in the discussion of Praptasya Prapti, going from stage 1 to stage 2. Visharanam means one that loosens the hold of. It makes it not as tight as it used to be. This is the meaning of Visharanam. And so what it means is that the sad loosens the hold of the world on you. How does it do that? Because until you read the Upanishad and understand it to a little extent, maybe not completely, but you get the essence of it, the world appears to have you in the grip. In the grip meaning that you are completely dependent on what happens to you. There's no escaping that. With the uncertainty of experiences, whatever happens, you're in for. Nobody can say, oh, I'm independent of the world. The moment you say that, if there is an earthquake and the whole roof falls down, you can't even complete the sentence. No one is really independent of the world. It has a way of holding you in its grip, with a variety of different things that happen, but you wake up every morning and things happen. So when you study the Upanishad, that hold, this tight grip of the world, loosens a little bit. And we don't say that it's come off. That coming off is the third one, which is Avasadhanam. Avasadhanam means that it disappears. It's like waking up from a dream. I mean, there's no direct analogy, but in the case of the dream experience, it's very possible that you have some bad dream, and it kind of shakes you up that maybe I should find something out of this. You haven't woken up yet, but at least you are trying. Anyway, I'm just making up that example. That's not an apt example. So the Visharanam means really the hold of the world is loosening a little bit. Okay? Gatihi means it makes you reach the objective that you have set for yourself. Makes you go, and Gati also means not only going but also reaching. So this is Praptasya Prapti. And so if you follow the Upanishad, then it changes you from, it transforms you from stage 1 to stage 2. And if you continue to follow stage 2 sincerely with a firm resolve, like for example, once I know that it's very possible that if I had not discovered the fact that the credit card wasn't me, I might have sort of like because it was getting late at night and I didn't know whether I should call the people that I visited, and I was losing my enthusiasm. How am I going to begin? Who do I call? And so it was all kind of like I didn't have enough energy. Well, once I knew it was around in this room, my energy just rebounded. I said, no, this I can find out, no problems. I hadn't found it yet, but I just started doing it, and within a couple of minutes I found it. So in the case of Upanishad, the second meaning of sad is gatihi. Gatihi means that if you keep the resolute attitude with your enthusiasm and your energy, it will definitely reach. And as a result of that, it is Avasadhanam, means that the world disappears. It's not loosened, it's gone, which is the third stage. You found it. You found the very truth about yourself as being truly independent from the world. So this is what the Upanishads do. This is the meaning of the word. And the Upanishad means Atma Vidya. You see, the true meaning, just like we were saying that the true Guru is Atma Vidya. So here also, so please see this very, 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 very clearly. When you say Upanishad, Upanishad means a clear knowledge of who you are. Then why do we call this book Upanishad? Keno Upanishad. Because this is where my knowledge is written down. So just like in the case of a live guru, the real guru is not the live guru but the knowledge of yourself. But the live guru becomes an important link to your own knowledge. So you can call me a guru. You call me sometimes Guruji. And so you call me, but the real Guruji is your own knowledge. It's just that, yes, I have some stored knowledge that allows you to see yourself. So similarly there also, the word Upanishad is not the book. It is the self-knowledge which is contained in the book. So that's the meaning of the word Upanishad. All right, I think we have covered everything that I wanted to say. There's also the location, because the Vedas have 3 sections in it called Samhita, Brahmana and Aranyaka. And so I won't bother with that for the time being. It doesn't really, it's not very relevant. But some of the Upanishads are, in fact the only Upanishad which is in the Samhita section is Ishavasya Upanishad, which is in the form of mantra. And that is an interesting thing because when I was born into this family in Amritsar. So we were all, my grandparents and to a certain extent my mom, not my father but my mom's side, these are all grandparents from my mom's side. They are what is called Arya Samajis. Arya Samaji. So the Arya Samajis are purely Karmakandins. Karmakandi. It's very funny, just looking back to it. We never used to have pictures of Rama and Krishna and Hanuman and Ganesha in the house. It was all books, Vedas, Vedic books, and there were mantras chanted. I come from a very pious family, but the pious nature of it was karmakandins. This is why I sometimes feel I am so lucky Ishvara is just looking after me, that if I had just stayed there, it's very possible that's what I would have done. I don't have enough wisdom to get out of it. And when I came to this country, I got out of the clutch, I would say clutches, but the hold of the Arya Samaji. And so that was an independent inquiry, and now I know a little bit more about the difference between Sanatana Dharma and Arya Samaj. Anyway, the reason I'm mentioning that is that in Arya Samaj, they only believe in one Upanishad, which is Ishavasya Upanishad. I didn't know that at that time, but now I know that Arya Samajis. And the reason they only believe in Ishavasyam is because it's contained in the mantra, in the Samhita section of the Vedas. And they all believe in the Samhita section because that's where all the Vedic mantras are. And because the Upanishad happens to be part of that, they say, we can. But they give a different meaning to it. It's not a real self-inquiry. The meaning they give, I think, I'm not sure 100%, but I believe so, is they say that this is a... so when you say that there is... Ishavasam, of course, is an Upanishad which talks about the aikyam between Jiva and Ishvara, just like all the other Upanishads do. But they say, Arya Samajis, I'm talking about when they say they, I mean Arya Samajis. What the Arya Samajis say is that is just prashansa. It is just sort of like a good feeling that you are this very same as the Ishvara. It's not really true, it is just some buttering you up so that you have some enthusiasm. So there also they don't really understand the Upanishad per se. Anyway, so that's another classification of Samhita, Brahmana and Aranyaka and the location of the various Upanishads. That's a rat in the wall making that ruckus. All right, shall we, do we have enough time to launch into Kena Upanishad? Maybe just a few minutes. We have covered a lot of ground, so I don't know if you want to do that. So what I propose to do is quickly go over the first chapter, the Prathama Khanda. And when I say quickly, there are, how many mantras are there? There are nine mantras in the first chapter. Okay? Then we will do the first 4 mantras of the second chapter. And again, I don't think I'll do it mantra by mantra, but just to kind of have an overview of this. And if we enjoy it, we might even go a little bit more than that. And then there is the third chapter is in the form of a beautiful story. And if you wanted to, I think it's all relevant also. So I think I will cover I would say most of the Upanishad, but not verse by verse as I was planning to do, not planning to do, but just kind of take it conceptually. And if you want, I can just read it for now. Maybe that's all I will do, so that you have an idea of what it sounds like. So let me do that for the next few minutes, and then I might just make some opening comments and then close the class after that. So let me chant the 9 mantras of the first chapter. And this one, as you know, the Shanti mantra for that is from Samaveda. Om Apyayantu Mama Angani Vak Pranaschakshuh Shrotramatho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam Me Astu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharmaha Te Mai Santu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, let me just quickly go through the 9 verses. Kene shitam patati preshitam manaha Kenaf pranaf prathamaf praiti yuktaha Kene shitam vacham imam vadanti Chakshuh shrotram kau devo yunakti Shrotrasya shrotram manaso manoyat Vacho havacham sau pranasya pranaha Chakshushascha chakshuh atimuccha dhiraha Pretyamasmat lokatamrita bhavanti Natatra chakshur gacchati Na vak gacchati no manaha Na vidmaha Na vijanimaha Yatha etadanushishya Anyadev tad viditat atho aviditat adhi Iti shushruma purvesham Yenastas tat vyacha chakshire Yenastat vyacha chakshire Yad vacha vachan anubhyutam Yad vacha anabhyuditam Yena vak abhyudyate Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yaditam upasate. Number 6. Yat manusana manate yena ahur mano matam Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yaditam upasate. Yas chakshushana pashyati yena chakshumshi pashyati Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yaditam upasate. Yat shrotrena shrunoti yena shotramidagum shrutam Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yaditum upasate. Yat pranena praniti yena pranaf praniyate Tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yaditum upasate. I might as well do the next 4 which I am going to cover. 2nd chapter, first one. Yadi manyase suvedeti dahram evapi nunam tvam vetta brahmano rupam yadasya tvam yadasya deveshvatanu mimamsyam evate manya viditam naham manye suvedeti no na vedeti vedacha yo nasyat tad veda sat tad veda no na vedeti vedacha Yasya matam tasya matam matam yasya na vedasaha avikyatam vijanatam vikyatam avijanatam. Then the key one that really culminates the whole thing, number 4 of the 2nd chapter. pratibodha viditam matam amritatvam hi vindate atmana vindate viryam vidyaya vidyate vindate mritam. I have to take your I'm sorry, I've left my laptop upstairs when I was doing another Zoom call with the Aim for Seva. So I forgot to bring it back here. So if you just give me a minute, I'll just go upstairs and bring my laptop. So wait for a few minutes. I'll be right back. Good to get your comments, Balamani and Shanti Kumar. Wonderful to see. So good to see all of you. And I think it'll be an interesting class because I will devote as much time as is necessary to fully sketch out some ideas and make it in a very structured manner. So that's my challenge and my joy as well. That's what I wanted to say. So happy that you are getting something out of it, and I'm very glad for that. So okay, so one last announcement. We will not have a class next week, so we'll miss one Tuesday. My wife and I are joining our older son and his family on a short trip outside the area, first time in 16 months. So we're all going to be there in a family reunion, and so we won't be here. And instead of my carrying the laptop and camera and all that, we'll just not have a class. So I will send you all an email. This next Saturday we will have a class, but the following Saturday after that we will not. But anyway, for the Tuesday, what is the date today? 1st, we will not have a class on the 8th of June, and will resume the class on the 15th of June. Okay? All right, with that, I take your leave and all the best to you, and look forward to seeing you 2 weeks from today. Om.